Hey everybody, what's going on? John here. I do videos on investing, on generating income online, on credit, and then you're going to see some videos in here on adventure travel because I got to do something with my credit card rewards points and my United points, right? No, I got to do something besides work all the time, right? But also, I'm doing more content on short and medium term vacation rentals. Not vacation rentals, but more like kind of medium term, like furnished medium term rentals from Airbnb and VRBO. Done that for a long time before Airbnb was even in business. Yeah, I've got a lot of content, a lot of, I should say, a lot of knowledge on that subject and putting some more content out on that. What do we have today? Today we have an investing video I'm going to be doing. I've just, at the time of this recording, it is Tuesday, May 4th. And, what do we have here? We have Dogecoin has just been like so crazy. And in this video, I'm not really going to be doing the video on Dogecoin, but what I'm going to be talking about is I'm actually going to be talking about Warren Buffett, because as I've evolved my my thinking about cryptocurrency, and just full disclosure, like I have been very neutral on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, not really investing directly in it, but investing in a lot of the groups where there's one link away. Like for example, PayPal. Obviously, PayPal is one big link away, from cryptocurrency and from Bitcoin because they allow their account holders to actually invest in it. And soon they're going to make it available for people, for their 28 million merchants to accept other people's PayPal. It's not available yet. But and then also the ARK funds, and then also Tesla, and then a little bit of GBTC, which is the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which you can really buy at any brokerage account. But basically, the reason I'm talking about Warren Buffett is because as I've also spent a lot of time researching, and I even did about a week and a half ago, the weekend before last, researched all about Peter Thiel and what Peter Thiel has to say, and Peter Thiel really sees it as really just like the next gold. I mean, it's just a digital gold. In fact, he was I have a video where he talks about the Bitcoin origin story, and how he believes, that Satoshi was at the same conference that he was at 20 years ago. It was a cryptography conference, and basically it was a company called eGold at the time, and he believes Satoshi came out of that company eGold, which actually ran into a lot of problems and everything, and they went to court, and the founders were prosecuted and all this crazy stuff. But basically, ultimately, when the dust settles, when I say the dust, the cryptocurrency really reminds me a lot of the internet stocks, 20 years ago from the late 90s. I participated in that and did pretty well with it actually, and then actually ended up starting an internet business after that, which was a great move for me. But the reality is that you look at all this craziness with cryptocurrency, and it's kind of hard to follow how it's going to keep going. But the way that I've evolved my philosophy on it, or my thinking at least, is just that it seems like pretty astonishing how all generations of people, and a lot of young people as well, are really creating generational wealth from cryptocurrency. It's really astonishing. So the whole thing is, if you can take some of your assets and divert a percentage of your assets over to crypto, into Bitcoin, and just be responsible about it, and just let that grow, and then diversify that bucket. Like if you say you take 2 or 3% of your net investable assets and then put it in crypto, and then decide you kind of choose what you like in there from that, and then just limit your exposure and continue to limit your exposure, maybe it might be a great opportunity to actually build some wealth. The thing is that ultimately, if the long-term picture, of cryptocurrency and of Bitcoin is that it's just really like a digital gold, and it's great that you'll be able to, if it does become the world's currency, or not, maybe the people of the world's currency, and you're able to save, 5% international transaction fees. That's great, but at the end of the day, that's really just 5%. I know that's a big number on the grand scale of things, but the average person that's just purchasing stuff here, every day, purchasing this and purchasing that, I don't really know how much that 5% is going to affect their lives that much. But basically, when the dust all settles, from this stuff, and you have the leaders of cryptocurrency emerge and digital currency emerge. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's just like gold, the fact is that gold just doesn't compare to investing in U.S. stocks. In fact, what I wanted to do is I'm pretty fascinated by something that Warren Buffett said, and Warren Buffett, everybody knows Warren Buffett, right? I mean, the reality is he's a lot older. He's born in 1930, so he's I think he might be not, obviously he's already 90 already. But what happened with Warren Buffett is Warren Buffett bought his first stock at 11 years old in 1942. And basically, Warren Buffett tracked the price of gold at that time, and he tracked, buying the stocks that he bought, or an S&P 500 index fund, and tracked it all the way to 2018. And what he does is he stacks it up. I don't have a clip. I'm actually going to just take you into my computer and just show you the actual, just the actual kind of case study that he did. But basically, the reality is it ends up being more than 100 times greater of a return by going into that S&P 500 index fund versus investing in gold, right? It's actually more than 100x. So what I'll do is I'll take you into the examples. And for him, it was only like $114 that he invested in 1942. But if you actually increase those numbers and then you do a pro forma and you look at it, if you model it out, so for Warren Buffett, he invested that $112 or $114. In 2018, it would have been worth $400,000, right? You model it out. You say, let's say that in 1942 that was $10,000. That $10,000 invested in 1942 in 2018 in the S&P 500, that'd be worth $51 million. Well, the reality is gold doesn't hold a candle to that. That same amount of money invested in gold only ends up being $400,000 in 2018 when invested in 1942. And this is, really super significant, because the fact is that what he says is when you're investing in S&P 500, you're investing in America. You're betting on America. Not only are you betting on America, but you're betting on productive companies, and you're betting on productive assets. He's just not a fan of cryptocurrency in general, and he's not a fan of, he's bought some gold, I guess, but he's just not that excited about gold in terms of an asset that's going to perform. In fact, he always says that the stocks and the S&P 500 will beat gold all the time. It'll kick its butt. So let me take you in real quick and show you this article that I'm talking about. I think real quick, obviously Warren Buffett, is great to listen to, but, again, here we are, at the time of this recording, it's May 4th, 2021. How else are we going to get that sort of a time frame of an example? We're in a way, we're pretty lucky that Warren Buffett has lived this long, and he's 90, and he's as sharp as he is, right? And he's got this great case study for us so that we can kind of take it into the future and really model out, how to really take your core assets and focus on the S&P 500. So the whole but the whole spirit of what I'm considering is if I do end up doing, a little bit more direct investing in some Bitcoin and crypto, taking those gains and putting it into the S&P 500. And reinvesting those dividends. So let's take a look, at this article real quick. It says the magical metal was no match for the American metal. That was his little saying there. So this was used as an example in his 2018 letter to his annual letter to shareholders. Buffett highlighted the 40,000% surge in U.S. national debt over the last 77 years and said if you had panicked at the prospects of runaway deficits and a worthless currency and bought 3.25 ounces of gold with your $114.75, parentheses, the amount Buffett invested when he purchased his first shares of stock in 1942 at age 11, it would be worth about $4,200 or less than 1% of what would have been realized from a simple, unmanaged investment in American business. The magical metal was no match for the American metal. At his 2018 annual meeting, Buffett compared $10,000 invested in stocks and gold in 1942, the first year he invested in stocks. That money invested in an S&P 500 index fund, there was none at the time, he noted, would have been worth $51 million in 2018. While a gold investment would have been worth only 400,000. Again, 1942 to 2018. In other words, for every dollar you could have made in American business, you'd have less than a penny of gain by buying into a store of value, which people tell you to run to every time you get scared by the headlines. Talks a little bit more about it. In his 2011 letter, Buffett noted that for 9.6 trillion, you could buy pile A, all of which the gold in the world, or pile B, basically just all the gold in the world, or pile B, the entire US cropland, 400 million acres, plus 16 Exxon Mobils, and still have another 1 trillion left over. Admittedly, when people a century from now are fearful, it's likely many will still rush to gold, he said. I'm confident, however, that the 9.6 trillion current valuation of pile A, gold, will compound over the century at a rate far inferior to that achieved by pile B. And that's it. So I'm also going to take you into a clip here so you can actually listen to Warren Buffett talk about back when he actually purchased his first stock in 1942. And, he doesn't really talk about gold. Actually, spent a lot of time looking for that clip. But he actually does talk about when he did buy his first stock in 1942 and a little bit about, about his pro forma in terms of, taking a look at the example of what, that would have been worth in terms of, modeling it out to something like a $10,000 investment. So take a look. It's a very, very powerful very powerful to listen to Warren Buffett talk about it and really the lessons he's learned over, all of his investing career, going back to the age of 11, which, now he's 90 years old.
Current events. And so this time I went back actually to 1942 when I bought my first stock as an illustration of all the things that have happened since 1942. We've had 14 presidents, 7 Republicans, 7 Democrats. We've had world wars. We had 9/11. We had the Cuban Missile Crisis. We have all kinds of things. The best single thing you could have done on March 11th, 1942, when I bought my first stock, was just buy an index fund and never look at a headline. Never think about stocks anymore. Just like you would do if you bought a farm. You just buy the farm and let the tenant farmer run it for you. And I pointed out that if you'd put $10,000 in an index fund that reinvested dividends, and I paused for a moment to let the audience try and guess how much it amount to, and it would come to $51 million now. And the only thing you had to really believe in then is that America would win the war and that America would progress as it has ever since 1776, and that American business, if America moved forward, American business would move forward. You didn't have to worry about what stock to buy. You didn't have to worry what day to get in and out. You didn't know the Federal Reserve would exist, whatever it might be. And America works.
So there you go. America works. So it's a pretty powerful, statement, everybody. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, certainly if cryptocurrency, and digital currency and Bitcoin do ultimately end up becoming really like a digital gold. I mean, obviously they're going to be a little bit more than that because people, are can pay for things now with Bitcoin. But other than it being a store of value, ultimately a store of value, and using it to pay for things, doesn't really have, too much more utilitarian function. I mean, it could be, a global currency, one day, the people of the world's currency. I mean, who knows how it's gonna work with central banks in the world. But it doesn't have too much, utilitarian function other than paying for things and avoiding that, international transaction fee. And then that storeholder wealth. I mean, right now it's a little crazy, all the people trading it and getting really, obviously super, super excited about it. But it does remind me a lot of the internet stocks of the late 90s. So there you go. So there's your lesson. So, for me, it makes a whole lot more sense to me if I can, get in there and play around and have some fun and make some money with some Bitcoin and digital currency and cryptocurrency. I'll be taking those gains and I'll be putting it right into right into the SP 500. First I'd start with probably VU. That's what I do, and then some different sectors of the SP 500, and just go from there. So hopefully you guys like that. I wanted to do this video because I've talked a lot about this example, and I don't really have a specific video to reference when I do this example, but I wanted to do this video so you have it. Everybody, I'm also going to put some links below. I came up with a blueprint recently. I cover investing. I cover generating income online. I cover credit. At the very end, I've got a guide, all the groups in the U.S. that give you a free credit score, plus all the groups that give you a free FICO score from all three bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. 90% of lenders all still use FICO, so you got to know what your FICO is. You can't just go and get your Vantage score from some random site. You got to know what your FICO is. I've been investing since 1989. My first job out of college was Merrill Lynch. I did investment banking after that, and then also I worked at Sun America here for 3 years. I'm not a financial advisor. I am not your financial advisor. This is for entertainment and it's for education, and hopefully you enjoyed it. But basically, outside of that, I also am a good investor. So I've got an 80x return on my Netflix shares, highest return in terms of a 52-week high. I've got a 33x return on my Apple shares. I purchased Apple back before the iPhone, the first iPhone came out in June of 2007, and then as of the after hours share price of Amazon last week, I have a 10x return on my Amazon shares that I purchased in 2014 when Amazon was down almost $100 in one day back then. So anyway, you're going to see the link below. My blueprint covers all that, and it's only $7, everybody. And have a great week. Thank you.